Hey guys, so today we are going to be doing some of my own yeast bread. I've cooked a lot of different yeast breads for a long time. I'm using fresh ground flour, so it is pretty different than it is if you use flour from the store. I've done, like I said, a lot of recipes over the years that have worked for a really long amount of time, but then sometimes they seem like they dry out. So if you're using a recipe, it does well, and then it seems like maybe it's just not going well, add a little bit of water to it. You don't have to stay on course with the recipe exactly how it says. For a long time I felt like I had to, and you don't. So mine, if you go through and you go, why does she have so much water? Just trust me, originally when I did this recipe, it was an accident, and it's worked. It worked, and it's never gone wrong so far. So because it worked for me, I just continue to do it. You can try it. If it works for you, good. If it doesn't, trash it and get your own. Or you can email me. You can comment below. I would be happy to give you one of the other recipes that I had used. I've used several girls' recipes that have worked great and for many years. Like I said, it's nothing to do with their recipe. It's just based on your temperature outside, how moist it is, how much humidity outside, things like that. It's gonna change your recipe. It's gonna change your rise time. So guys, if I say let it rise for a half hour, don't let it rise for a half hour. You're gonna wanna let it rise till your bread rises. So throughout this recipe, do it for however long you're gonna need it to go for. I let it go for however long it's gonna take me. If it takes me longer today, I'll let you know, but this recipe's been pretty good to be 45 minutes. It's normally 45 minutes almost every time with this. So I've been pretty pleased with it. So here we go. I've got, in this bowl, I've got 1 2/3 cup of warm water. This is warm water. Now it's about, they say 105, 110 degrees. I really do not anymore. I used to exactly. I am pretty good with being exact about almost everything anymore in life. But with this, I do not do that anymore. I put my wrist in it like if you're bathing a baby. If you can put your wrist in it, you be comfortable where you don't think you're gonna, it's gonna be too hot for a baby to bathe them. That's what you want. I have active dry yeast. I do not have instant. Yes, you can use instant. I use active. I get it in big blocks, and I have the extra in my freezer. So this is what I have. I got 2.5 teaspoons of the active dry yeast that I'm going to put in my 1 2/3 cup of warm water. And I'm just going to put it in here. This, if you guys can find raw, unfiltered honey from your hometown, it's not my hometown in Louisiana, I'm actually from up near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But from wherever you are, if you can find you raw, unfiltered honey, get it. It's the best you can have. So you're gonna get you 2 tablespoons of that honey. This honey, like I said, raw, unfiltered. It's great. It stays good forever. You can't go wrong with it. You're gonna stick this in here with your yeast and with your water. Because what this is like is, if you don't have any, it's okay. You can use anything. You can use anything to replace this. I am gonna tell all you guys and gals, if you are on a diet, which, to let you know, I am not supposed to have any sugar. I am not supposed to have any sugar whatsoever. I am glucose insulin sensitive. I'm not supposed to have sugar. I don't care. I will eat honey. This is in the Bible. This is good for your stomach. I have a stomach disease. This is good for your stomach. But guys, if you can't have sugar, I understand. That's fine. I am going to tell you, because I'm not allowed to have sugar originally when I started making my own bread and things for my family, I tried to cheat and I tried making it with monk fruit sweetener. You can't. It killed my yeast every time. Yeah. So, don't do that. So anyway, so mix this up. I'm actually going to put it in my stand mixer here. I'm going to let it sit. Now this, once you have this all mixed in, you're actually going to let this sit in here for about 10 minutes. It's going to rise, it's going to bubble. Let it sit there. If you've ever noticed that this does not rise, it does not bubble up, start again, but start again with different yeast, because your yeast is either dead or your water was too hot. If you've ever had, that's how I found out that the monk fruit sweetener killed it. My water was not too hot because, once again, I did used to measure my water temperature all the time. I had 105 degree temperature. I knew I was not too hot. I did it 2 times with my water temperature. I knew it wasn't the yeast. I used my yeast all of the time. I knew it was active yeast. I knew it was alive. And it was when I found out it was the monk fruit sweetener. It was killing it. Okay, so here you should be able to have it risen. Sometimes it's risen more, sometimes a little less, but about 10 minutes you should have it good and bubbly. Now what I'm going to do is, you got 2 tablespoons of butter. It can be oil. Put that right in there. I'm going to let it start mixing. While that starts mixing, I do not put salt right in with yeast. Salt is something that if you stick it right on your yeast, it does normally kill it. Normally what I do is I'll take my salt, I'll put it inside with my, this is 4 cups of fresh ground flour, and I'll put it in there and I'll mix it around. I'm just letting it blend my butter, getting it good and mixed in pretty good. I'm going to add this in. So, like I said, we're going to let this mix 7 minutes, and we will be back to add in the 1 cup of flour, half a cup of water, and then we'll mix it another 8 more minutes and see what we get. All right, and so now we're going to be adding 1 cup of flour and half a cup of warm water. Like I said, I did this by accident. I add another cup of flour and half a cup of water. And all this does is, essentially, with it being such a large amount of water, it is a large amount of water, but it gave that fresh ground flour enough time to soak up all of that extra liquid, and it makes it actually a really moist loaf of bread. And the kids like it, my husband loves it. It's really good bread. I don't know how I made the mistake when I made it, but anybody that's ever known me for a while can know I'm really good at making mistakes. So once you put these ingredients in here, you're going to mix this for 8 more minutes. Then you're going to cover it up with a warm, wet rag and set it for 45 minutes. Let it rise. Like I said in the beginning, guys, this is not rocket science. If it doesn't look like your loaf has really risen that much, let it rise an hour. I know I've used other people's bread recipes before, and it doesn't look like they'll be like, let it rise a half hour. If I let it rise a half hour, it might be like only a little bit. If I let it rise an hour, it would be to the top of the bowl. I'll let it rise an hour. So use your own judgment with this. It's going to be based on your altitude. It's going to be based on your humidity. It's going to be based on where you live. Don't just take a recipe, no matter what it is, pasta, bread, cakes, donuts, anything. Don't just take your baking and think you gotta do a recipe to a T. I used to make that mistake. Take their recipe, try it to a T, And if it kind of works, try to tweak it, because it's probably something going on with your weather or your area or something. It's not always what you did. It's probably something in your area. So just try it. But yeah, so mix this for another 8 minutes. Let it sit 45 minutes. So we'll be back after this sat for about 45 minutes, letting it rise. We're gonna break it down into our 2 bread pans and we'll be back. All right guys, so we have let this rise for 45 minutes. Now all I gotta do is take this up out. I'm gonna split it in 2. This part I am pretty exact on, only because I like the same amount of size loaves. Okay. So your loaves is also something, some people roll them all the way out, roll them into a square, roll them all the way up, put them in a deal. You don't have to. It's mainly just trying to get the air out of your loaf and then rolling it up. Some people do it like that. It really, honestly, it doesn't matter. You don't have to do any certain thing. I pretty much, all I do with my loaf to get it going is just like that. That's all I do with my loaf. I might come to the bottom, pinch it off. I used to roll it completely out and do an actual loaf. I used to. I do that for sourdough. I used to do that with these. I don't anymore. There's nothing wrong with it. I just find that I don't have to. And all I did here, I normally just spray these with spray. That's why it's got, these are pretty old pans. They're pretty seasoned. And I probably don't even need a spray, but I don't have any spray left. I put me some grease on here, parchment. Parchment I make up longer every time. I can just lift it right up out when they're done. Fries in pan another 45 minutes. So these are ready to go in the oven, and they're gonna go in 400 degrees for 25 minutes. As soon as they come out, I always take them right out of the pan. If you don't, you'll notice that they sweat for a little bit. So I always do. Some people don't. I lift them right out when they come out and let them sit on a drying rack, or you can let them, if you have a gas oven like I do, you can let them sit on the oven, let them cool. The thing people tell you, do not cut your bread until it is thoroughly cooled down. My husband will not do that. He likes to eat that when it is hot, which is fine. We have a large family. We can eat the entire loaf in one day. So that's fine. You'll see the ending results. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks, guys. You've got me saying